Hello and welcome to our first Bear News show of the semester. I'm Michaela Lander.
And I'm Ashley Franco. Coming up on today's show, a government standstill leads to intense political discourse. Stay tuned for all the current details.
UNC students band together to continue the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr.
We've got all that and more on this episode of Bear News.
Don't go anywhere.
After a three-day government shutdown, the Senate voted Monday to end debate on a stopgap spending bill, clearing the way for its passage. As Bear News reporter Joe Buchanan tells us, the key to the change was an agreement to consider the plight of 700,000 DACA children.
The Senate voted to end a Democratic filibuster of the legislation by a vote of 81 to 18. That allowed a later vote to actually pass the spending bill that funds the government until February 8th. The House then passed the Senate bill, sending it to President Trump. He signed the legislation Monday evening. The deadline to pass a continuing resolution to keep the federal government funded passed on January 19th when the Senate failed to pass a House bill that would allow the government to keep its doors open. That means the U.S. government officially shut down over the weekend until the stopgap funding bill passed on Monday night. The shutdown meant the end of non-essential spending by the government stopgap funding bill passed. So what is the non-essential spending? Well, the U.S. government breaks down their departments into essential and non-essential. Essential departments are those vital to a functioning country, including the Department of Defense, TSA, and Mail Services. Social Security checks continue to go out. People receiving assistance continue to receive that assistance. While non-essential departments include agencies like the National Park Service, but that is not to say essential departments aren't affected by the shutdown. Agencies furloughed thousands of federal employees on Monday, meaning they were temporarily unemployed until the funding measure passed. Members of the military were out of a paycheck until the government received more funds. So what caused the shutdown? Well, Democrats blocked a vote on continuing resolution to fund the government with a demand that the majority Republicans and President agree to make deferred action of childhood arrivals, better known as DACA, permanent. The sides also disagree about Trump's demands for an $18 billion to build a border wall between the United States and Mexico. Another casualty of the impasse was Child's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP. Now, what made the shutdown different than those in the past? Well, this will be the first shutdown since 1979 with one party holding the House, Senate, and presidency. Shutdowns are usually used as a bargaining chip to pressure opposing parties to pass controversial legislation. Let's take the most recent shutdown in 2013, for example. The government shut down because the Republican-run House and Senate attempted to pressure the Democrat-run White House to repeal the Affordable Care Act. But after a weekend war of words this weekend, the Senate invoked cloture on Monday and voted 81 to 18 to pass a stopgap funding bill, which will extend funds for 3 weeks until February 8th. The bill passed the House and was signed by President Trump that night. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell pledged to address DACA legislation by February if it had not been resolved by then. Back to you, Michaela.
Thanks, Joe. The federal government went back to normal operations on Tuesday morning. Almost 1,000 Greeley residents gathered to celebrate the life and legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. January 15th, despite the snow and cold temperatures. The day began at the Greeley Chamber of Commerce, where people drank hot chocolate and made signs in preparation for the march. Residents walked with purpose down 10th Avenue until reaching the Union Colony Civic Center, where they enjoyed performances including spoken word pieces, singing, and a live art painting presentation. Participants could also enjoy an art exhibit in the lobby that featured original UNC student art pieces. UNC senior Desiree Antwine was one of the artists who displayed her artwork, and she felt honored to be a part of the King celebration.
MLK himself was a unique individual, and everyone really does overlook the things that he represents for. So I'm very honored to be able to present some of the pieces that was created from love, just passion out here today with all the people that believe in the same things we believe in.
The day's celebration continued as the Crest Cinema screened the 2014 film Selma, which is based on the 1965 voting rights marches from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. Every year, the celebration for Dr. King and his legacy grows, attracting more marchers and activities. As tensions between North Korea and the U.S. escalate, so does human error in efforts to protect citizens from nuclear destruction. A false emergency missile alert was sent to Hawaii, ensuing panic and anger among residents, begging the question, what went wrong? Nearly 2 weeks ago, an officer of Hawaii's Emergency Management Agency mistakenly selected the wrong template, sending a missile threat to all residents and vacationers of the island. The message was meant to be an internal drill. The message read, "Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill." The agency took 38 minutes to recognize their mistake and send out a corrective message. If a missile launches from North Korea to the U.S., it could reach the island within 20 minutes.
State officials revised the alert system, implementing a two-factor identification system. The officer who made the mistake has temporarily been reassigned after receiving death threats. The first big snow in January leaves us with an icy aftermath. How are Greeley's current conditions looking, Michaela?
Hi, I'm meteorologist Michaela Lucero. Right now in Greeley, we're at 40 degrees with partly cloudy skies and a mild breeze of 4 miles per hour out of the southwest. Tomorrow morning, we'll be at 23 degrees with a mild breeze of 10 miles per hour, and we'll bump that up to 33 degrees with winds at 13 miles per hour at 10 o'clock. Here's a live shot of Loveland from earlier this morning. I have snow totals in my full forecast, so stay tuned.
With the holidays over and classes starting, getting back in shape is a must, but students who participated in the Veterans Open House pull-up competition had no issues breaking a sweat. You could say they set the bar pretty high. Participants gathered at the Rodebush Cottage to play trivia games and compete in other competitions. They kept the grill running and fresh coffee flowing. Veterans from the Air Force, Marines, and Navy participated in a friendly pull-up competition. Participants did as many as they could, and each score added to the branch's total. Air Force veteran Jose Garcia started the competition doing 25 pull-ups in less than a minute. Garcia served 4 years in the Air Force and says he is motivated to help kids.
What motivates me, I'm coming to school to study dietetics. I want to start a nonprofit in the future, at-risk youth, like boxing gym. I want to do that. So that's what motivates me and pushes me to study and just keep going.
The Veterans Service Center provides services for all UNC students associated with the military and always has a fresh pot of coffee if you want to stop by on a cold day. The largest utility in the state just might be leading us to a greener future. And as BearNews reporter Logan Garcia tells us, it could also save some money.
Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting, Michaela. And according to a report by Carbon Tracker, getting energy from new renewable energy projects would be significantly cheaper than getting it from existing coal plants. In its 2016 proposal, Xcel Energy, which serves nearly 3.3 million customers in the upper Midwest, Colorado, and New Mexico, said it wanted to shut down 2 coal plants in the state and replace their output with solar, wind, and natural gas by 2023. And there are many companies interested in helping them reach this goal. Late last year, Xcel received 430 individual bids from 238 separate projects. That's up from the 55 bids that the company received in 2013. From this, we see that the median bid price for solar and storage was $36 per megawatt hour, $9 less than the previously cheapest power purchase agreement in the country. If everything goes as planned, about 55% of Colorado's energy would come from renewables. And closer to home, UNC surpassed its 13% energy savings goal by more than 15%.
We'll have sustainable living tips and more information about UNC sustainability plans on our website, bearnews.tv.
Coming up after the break, Michaela has your full weather forecast.
And stay with us to discover how UNC students feel about Trump's first year in office.
Welcome to my block party. Glad you can make it.
The only triple doubles you get come with fries.
Last time you blocked someone, you were online.
I can do this all day. Your moves are just gay.
Using gay to mean dumb or stupid, not cool.
Not cool.
Not in my house, not anywhere. It's not creative, it's offensive to gay people. And you're better than that.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back to Bear News. I'm meteorologist Michaela Lucero. Over the last 72 hours, the mountains have gotten a little bit of snow. Steamboat 4 inches, Breckenridge 2 inches, Keystone and Loveland 1 inch. Denver's at 45 degrees right now, northern Colorado at 40 degrees, and Pueblo at 55 degrees. On campus, we're at 43 degrees with a mild breeze of 4 miles per hour. Tomorrow, most of the northern part of the country is going to be pretty chilly, and we'll even see some single-digit temperatures in the northeast. In Colorado, we'll be at 50 degrees in Denver, 40 in northern Colorado, and 45 in Grand Junction. The jet stream is crazy strong on the east coast, and we have a milder jet stream right to the west of Colorado that'll bring us some stronger winds later this week. The record high for today is 62. The radar is showing us that Colorado is pretty dry, but we do have a system building out to the west in Utah. This system is building right around the Salt Lake, and it's bringing snow and rain, but it should dissipate before it gets to Colorado. The future radar shows a little bit of snow on Friday morning in the mountains, but that'll all go away by Saturday morning. Tonight, Denver will be in the 30s, northern and southern Colorado at 25, and Grand Junction at 35. And Greeley will be at 17 degrees with winds at 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow we'll have a sunrise at 7:13 a.m. with temperatures at 23 degrees, and a sunset at 5:11 p.m. with temperatures at 33 degrees. For our early risers, at 6 a.m. we'll be at 23 degrees, for lunchtime 37 degrees, and by dinner time we'll be at 28 degrees. 43 and 41 heading into our weekend with overnight lows in the teens and the mid to upper 50s to start off the week. Back to you.
Sunday night can feel stressful as a busy new week of school and work starts. One Campus Club is providing some unique comedy to help start your week off right.
Sketch comedy to me is absolute, insane fun.
Crazy, hard, and rewarding.
Sketch comedy is funny, organized chaos.
Thank you for coming. This has been Family Freud. I will see you next week to deconstruct another family. Good night.
This group is a sketch comedy group on campus. Hello, my name is. Pretty simple. We just write sketches. We pitch them, and then we pick them. Then we write them, rehearse them, and then we put it up on Sunday. So we have 2 weeks to prepare every show.
Hello, my name is really important to bring to UNC because it gives you a way to escape from reality. It gives you an opportunity to just pretty much detox from all that and just laugh and come out and enjoy yourself for an hour or so.
We're not catering to like just theater or just this one type of department. Like literally everyone can come. They can audition for the group and just laugh.
That's pretty much the goal of our shows, is to have the audience leave feeling better than they were when they got here.
Shift, yeah. Cool. Are you guys cool with running it one more time?
Yes.
Yes. Sweet. I love it. Awesome.
Come on, Day. Okay.
Every other Sunday, Fraser 63, 7:30. Come to Hello, my name is. It is a blast.
Leave the kiddos at home for this one. Each show is best suited for an adult audience.
It's movie award season. The Golden Globes and Screen Actors Guild shows are history, so now it's the Oscars' turn. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences released the nominees for the 90th Academy Awards on Tuesday. The Shape of Water stands out with 13 nominations, the most of any film this year, in categories ranging from Best Makeup all the way to Best Film. Keep an eye out on the Best Director category this year, as 2 nominees stand to make history if they win. Greta Gerwig got a nomination for her film Lady Bird. She's the 5th woman nominated and would only be the 2nd woman ever to win. She competes against Jordan Peele, nominated for his February hit Get Out. He's the 5th African-American director nominated and would be the first to win. You can watch the Academy Awards show at 6 p.m. on March 5th.
The Coachella Music Festival is one of the most popular multi-day music festivals that features some of the greatest artists. This year, tickets sold out in just over 1 hour, but that isn't what most people are talking about. The attention shifted to Philip Anschutz, the founder of the festival's parent company. The 77-year-old businessman owns the Anschutz Entertainment Group, which operates Golden Voice, the company that launched Coachella in 1999. Reporters on Twitter came in tying Anschutz to a few conservative organizations whose beliefs oppose those of the festival. The biggest attention grew from Anschutz's support of such organizations as the Family Research Council, the National Christian Foundation, and Alliance Defending Freedom. All are accused of being anti-LGBT organizations. The response Anschutz made is a statement stating that recent claims published in the media that I am anti-LGBTQ are nothing more than fake news. Some accounts on Twitter have tried to convince users now to attend the festival as protest and attend other festivals that support organizations that exhibit values more positive to the LGBT community. Some of the people who were able to get Coachella tickets said that the people raising these issues are just angry and upset because they didn't get tickets.
Catching up with your favorite TV shows can be difficult with a busy schedule. No worries, reporter Sean Waldy will fill you in.
Many TV networks started the new season or mid-seasons of their most popular shows, and some of them broke records. ABC launched the mid-season premieres of Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, and Scandal. All three shows are part of the TGIT series. The new Grey's Anatomy threw fans right back into the excitement with Dr. Jo Wilson finally going face-to-face with her ex-husband, Paul. The episode centered around Wilson getting a divorce from her abusive ex-husband. The episode concluded with the classic whodunit plot twist when Paul arrived back in the hospital, but this time he's a victim of a hit-and-run accident. The next episode airs tonight at 7. Scandal fans had to say goodbye to one character as the show revealed the fate of fellow gladiator Quinn Perkins. The next episode of Scandal is tonight at 8. How to Get Away with Murder fans had a quick start when Laurel and her baby got rushed to the hospital by paramedics. The episode centered around the baby, but also closed some loose ties from the previous finale. MTV brought back The Challenge, one of its most popular reality competition series, on January 2nd. Last week, the third episode had more than 1 million live viewers, breaking the show's own personal rating records. The next episode of The Challenge will be Tuesday night at 7 on MTV. Back to you, Ashley.
Come back next week for another entertainment review. Now that President Trump has been in office for a full year, BearNews reporter Sarah Methuselah asked students to describe his time in office.
The catch? Only use one word.
I'm Sarah Methuselah reporting from the University Center, asking students to use one word to describe President Trump's first year in office.
Disaster? Eventful.
It'd be great.
Oh boy. Unfortunate. Oof. It's bad. I'd probably say detrimental.
Disaster?
Probably unexpected.
Amazing.
Hilarious.
Surprising, I guess? I don't know.
Reporting from the University Center, I'm Sarah Methuselah, BearNews.
Whether students use positive or negative words to describe our commander-in-chief, President Trump has 3 more years left in his term to shape public opinion.
Time will tell if opinions change at the end of his second year in office.
And that's our show for tonight. Thanks for joining us this evening. Be sure to look out for us as our reporters cover weekly events around campus.
We'll be back next week, but until then, stay up to date on our Twitter and Instagram, UNCO BearNews. Be sure to like us, and we will see you next week.